What if the real thing holding you back right now isn't your situation, but the constant noise inside your own mind? Not the problems themselves, but the way you replay them, overthink them, and carry them with you long after they've already happened. You move through your day, you do what you have to do, you keep going, but in the background your mind doesn't stop. It questions, it doubts, it reopens things that should have been closed. And without realizing it, you end up fighting a battle that no one else can see. Maybe the problem isn't your life. Maybe it's the fact that you've been fighting yourself for far too long. The Stoics understood something most people never realize. Peace doesn't come from fixing everything around you, but from learning how to stop turning your own mind against you. Because real strength isn't controlling every outcome. It's controlling how you respond to what happens inside. So today, try something different. Stop fighting your mind. Let these Stoic lessons help you think clearly, move with intention, and finally feel at peace with yourself. Because everything changes the moment you stop being your own enemy. If this resonates with you, you can subscribe and join as a member, so we can keep building this mindset together. And now I want to ask you something real. What is the thought that keeps showing up in your mind? Even when you know it's holding you back, I'll be reading you. Lesson 1. Stop being your own enemy. There's something almost no one tells you when it comes to personal growth. Most advice focuses on external obstacles, difficult people, bad circumstances, lack of opportunities. You're told to fix what's around you, to change your environment, to remove what holds you back. And yes, all of that matters. But there is a much quieter enemy that almost nobody talks about. One that follows you everywhere. One you can't escape. One that knows exactly where to hit. That enemy has your face, your voice, and knows every single one of your weak points better than anyone else. Put it into perspective. You wake up in the morning, and before your feet even touch the ground, it starts. That voice. Another day, let's see how you mess it up. You go through your routine, check your phone, get ready, but it's still there in the background. You look at yourself in the mirror and it whispers, "You're not where you should be." You pick something to wear, hesitate, change your mind. That doesn't look right either. Small moments, almost invisible, but they add up. You step into your day carrying that voice with you. At work, someone says something slightly off and your mind fills in the gaps. They're judging you. In a conversation, you hold back your opinion. Not because you don't have anything to say, but because that voice steps in first. Better stay quiet, you'll sound stupid. And later, when the moment is gone, the same voice turns against you again. See? You should have said something. It's a perfect cycle of self-sabotage. And the worst part is not that the voice exists. The worst part is that you've been listening to it for so long that you no longer question it. You treat it as truth, as realism, as if it were protecting you from failure. But it isn't protection. It's sabotage. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire, commanded armies, made decisions that affected millions of lives. And yet, in his private writings, he constantly reminded himself of one thing. His real battle was not out there, but within. He repeated a powerful idea. Your soul takes the color of your thoughts. If you allow negative, harsh, and destructive thinking to dominate your mind, sooner or later, you become it. Not because the world is against you, but because your perspective has been shaped against yourself. And here comes a truth that might be uncomfortable, but you need to hear it. Most of the limitations in your life are not imposed from the outside. They are reinforced from the inside. No one is coming to fix that for you. There is no mentor, no partner, no opportunity that can step into your mind and clean that voice for you. As long as you let it dictate how you see yourself, how you act, and what you believe you're capable of, you will remain stuck in the same version of your life. But here's the good news. That voice is not permanent. It's learned. And anything learned can be changed. The first step is to catch it in real time. The moment you hear yourself thinking, "I'm not good enough," or "I always mess things up," pause. Don't follow it automatically. Observe it. Imagine someone standing in front of you saying those exact words. Would you accept it? Would you allow someone to speak to you that way? Of course not. So why allow it from yourself? Start writing these thoughts down if you need to. Not to obsess over them, but to expose them. When you take them out of your head and put them into words, something changes. They lose their authority. They stop sounding like absolute truths and start revealing themselves for what they are. Distortions. Seneca practiced something powerful. At the end of each day, he reviewed his actions, his words, his thoughts, not to punish himself, but to understand them. He asked, where did I improve? Where did I fall short? And most importantly, where was I unnecessarily harsh with myself? That awareness allowed him to grow without destroying himself in the process, because growth doesn't come from constant self-attack. It comes from honest reflection. Then comes the next step, replacing that destructive inner dialogue, not with fake positivity or empty affirmations, but with something more grounded and fair. If your mind says, I'm a failure, shift it toward, I've failed at some things, but I've also learned. If it says, nobody respects me, reframe it as, some people value me, others don't. And that's normal. You're not lying to yourself. You're correcting the imbalance. Your brain learns through repetition. Repeat criticism, and it builds tension. Repeat balanced thinking, and it builds stability. And a stable mind is a powerful one. Epictetus said it clearly. You cannot control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond. And that includes how you respond to your own thoughts. You don't need to fight every negative thought. You just need to recognize it and let it pass, like a cloud that doesn't define the sky. Here's something that changes everything. Celebrate small wins. Every time you catch that voice and choose not to follow it, acknowledge it, because you are training your mind. You are building discipline at the deepest level, and discipline there changes everything else. Think about this. If you had a dog that barked at you constantly, you wouldn't tolerate it forever. You would train it. You would set boundaries. Your mind works the same way. It needs structure. It needs repetition. It needs you to take control. Becoming someone who is no longer held back by their own thoughts doesn't happen overnight. You won't wake up tomorrow completely transformed. But every time you interrupt that pattern, every time you choose clarity over self-attack, you take a step forward. And those steps build a completely different life. So let me ask you something, my friend. Are you going to keep being the obstacle in your own path? Or are you finally ready to step out of your own way? Lesson 2. Be your own reference. Have you noticed how much we depend on others' echo to feel like we're doing things right? A decision doesn't seem valid until someone else approves it. An achievement doesn't feel complete until it gets a like. And so we go, looking for eyes to see us before we dare look within. But my friend, that's how you end up living a life designed by others, instead of building one that's truly yours. Picture this. You've had a good day. You woke up early, worked out even though you didn't feel like it, helped a coworker even when you didn't have to, resisted the urge to get into an argument that would have only drained you. You finally finished that task you'd been putting off for weeks. It wasn't a perfect day, but it was one of those days where you acted from your values. You chose yourself. And then at night, you check your phone, and silence. No messages, no congratulations, no recognition. And suddenly, that satisfaction you felt deflates. Why? Because deep down, you're used to measuring your worth by others' reactions, to something only counting if someone else validates it. And that's where you're losing everything. Because your self-worth can't depend on a scene, a comment, or a round of applause. Your life isn't a show, it's your journey. And that journey only makes sense when you choose to value it, even if no one else celebrates it. Being your own reference point isn't arrogance, it's responsibility. It's having the courage to say, this feels right because I chose it from my core. I don't need anyone's applause. I need alignment. And that alignment is transformative. As Marcus Aurelius said, don't waste time debating what a good man should be. Be one. And you? Have you ever asked yourself what would happen if you stopped chasing constant approval? What choices would you make if your peace was your main priority? What projects would you start if you didn't need to explain them to feel valid? If you're ready to shift this, here's something that will make all the difference. Take time, real time, to get to know yourself. And I don't mean knowing your favorite color or your go-to TV show. I mean sitting with yourself and asking, what actually matters to me? What drives me? What values am I unwilling to betray, even if no one understands them? Also, start celebrating your own progress, even the small wins, even the ones no one sees. If you got up today despite having zero energy and still followed through, celebrate that. If you chose silence over drama, celebrate that. If you stayed true to yourself in a moment of pressure, celebrate that. Because each of those decisions is another brick in the construction of your true identity. My friend, when you stop living by someone else's script, everything changes. You start to breathe differently. You walk with a new steadiness. You feel finally like you're home, even when you're alone. Because your voice becomes your guide, your values become your compass, and your steps stop being imitations. Stop looking outward for what already lives within you. Be the hero of your own story, because if there's anyone who can transform you, it's you. And the sooner you start trusting that, the sooner you'll begin building the life you truly deserve. Lesson 3. Live like you don't have a single day to waste. Imagine this. You get unexpected news. You have just one day left to live. Exactly 24 hours, not a minute more. What would you do with that time? Would you stay upset because someone didn't reply to your message? Would you spend energy replaying a pointless argument from yesterday? Of course not, because suddenly, everything that felt important would collapse under the weight of what truly matters. In that moment, the things that steal your calm and confidence would feel ridiculous. And yet, most of the time, we live as if we've got an endless supply of days, as if there's always a tomorrow to finally start living. But the Stoics weren't fooled by that illusion. They saw every day as a loan, one that could be called in at any time. That's why they didn't postpone the essential. They understood that putting things off until tomorrow was the most certain way to lose today. Here's the trap. You think you've got plenty of time, but you don't. Writer Tim Urban illustrated this with a powerful image, a sheet of tiny boxes, each one representing a day of your life, from birth to death. When you see it laid out, something shifts. Suddenly you realize those little boxes aren't as many as you thought. And worse, you're crossing them off fast, spending them on things you won't even remember. Endless scrolling, repetitive complaints, pointless arguments. It's like erasing your life with an invisible pencil. Seneca wrote it in On the Shortness of Life. It's not that we have too little time, but that we waste much of it. His words weren't a lecture. They were a wake-up call. Time is enough if you use it well, but if you let it slip away on distractions and meaningless reactions, it vanishes like water through your fingers. The Stoic didn't ask for more hours. He aimed to live each one with purpose, calm, and awareness. Just look at the everyday stuff. You say you don't have time for yourself, but you spend 2 hours on videos you won't even remember tomorrow. You say you don't have time for your loved ones, but you keep putting off that simple call with the excuse of, "I'll do it tomorrow." And then, when the day ends, you feel that hollow ache, the one that comes from investing your time in nothing. The problem isn't time, it's how you spend it, and how often you let untrained emotions eat it alive. The Stoics trained their minds every morning with the thought that they could die that same day, not out of fear, but to give weight to the present. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Live as if you were already dead. What's left is a gift." If you think about it, that mindset is incredibly freeing. Because when you accept that today could be your last, you stop giving value to what doesn't deserve it, and you start focusing on what truly counts. So how can you live this without falling into anxiety? Start by cutting out the obvious time thieves. That habit of checking your phone every 2 minutes. That show you don't even enjoy but keep watching out of habit. Those repetitive conversations that go nowhere. Every useless thing you let go of is a day you get back. Then, choose small actions that connect you with who you want to become. You don't need hours, 10 minutes reading something that inspires you. A short walk to clear your thoughts. Writing down just 2 lines about what you learned today. These are tiny gestures, but when you repeat them, your life gains direction. It's not about how much time you have. It's about the intention behind how you use it. And don't forget something essential. Say what you need to say to the people you love today. Don't wait for the right moment. The right moment is now. A quick call, a heartfelt message, an unplanned visit. These acts don't just strengthen your relationships. They clear your mind of the weight of what's left unsaid. They give you back your calm, because you're no longer carrying emotional leftovers. In the end, living like you don't have time to waste doesn't mean living in a rush. It means living with focus. It means you don't let a pointless argument, a mindless distraction, or a made-up fear steal an entire day. Every time you choose calm over reaction, purpose over distraction, you win back a box on your life's page. And when you stack up enough of those boxes, you build a life that stays steady, even when everything around it changes. Lesson 4. Move as if you were already that person. Do you know what the difference is between someone who's confident and someone who's faking it? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Because here's the truth. Your brain can't tell the difference between real confidence and acted confidence. It only reads the signals your body sends. And if your body says, "I'm confident," your mind eventually believes it, even if at first it's just a performance. I know, this sounds like cheap motivational advice, but there's solid science behind it. And more importantly, there's ancient Stoic wisdom to back it up. Because the Stoics understood something that modern psychology took 2,000 years to confirm. Your body isn't a passive receiver of emotion. It's an active creator of it. Think about the last time you had to walk into a room full of strangers. A party, a networking event, an important meeting. How did you walk in? Probably with your shoulders slightly hunched, your eyes scanning for the nearest chair, your hands busy with your phone or a drink, anything to avoid eye contact. You walked quickly, like you were trying to find a safe corner. You made yourself small, and as you did all that, your mind was hammering you. You don't belong here. Everyone's judging you. They can tell you're uncomfortable. You should have stayed home. And every step you took in that shrunken posture confirmed those thoughts. Because your brain looked at how you were moving and concluded, if we're moving like we don't belong, we don't belong. Now imagine the opposite. Same place, same people. But this time, you walk in differently. Chest open, shoulders back. You walk slowly, without rushing. You look around with curiosity, not fear. You make brief eye contact, maybe even smile, just a little, like you're in on a good secret. Your hands are visible, relaxed. What happens in your mind? Something strange. You start to feel different. Not instantly, not like magic, but after a few minutes, the anxiety lowers. You breathe easier. You even feel bold enough to approach someone and start a conversation. Not because anything outside changed, but because your body sent different signals to your brain. And your brain, loyal and adaptive, adjusted your emotional state to match. This isn't pseudoscience. Amy Cuddy, yes, her again, proved this in a powerful study. She had participants hold power poses for 2 minutes before a job interview. Just 2 minutes. Chest open, hands on hips, arms outstretched. Then she measured not only how they felt, but what changed inside their bodies. The results were shocking. Testosterone, the hormone linked to confidence and risk-taking, rose 20%. Cortisol, the stress hormone, dropped 25% in just 2 minutes, simply by changing how they held their body. And most impressive of all, in the interviews that followed, those participants were rated as more competent, more confident, and more hireable, not because they gave smarter answers, but because their body language communicated something their words couldn't. The Stoics didn't need a lab to understand this. Marcus Aurelius, when facing impossible days, the political pressure, the constant war, would do something simple but powerful. He stood tall, he walked with purpose, he spoke slowly and calmly, not because he felt calm, but because he knew that if he acted calm, he would eventually feel calm. Epictetus taught this to his students with practical examples. He told them, "When you walk into an important room, enter as if you belong there, not like a beggar, not like someone waiting for permission to exist, but like someone with every right to be there, because the way you enter determines how others treat you, and more importantly, how you treat yourself." But here's the trick no one tells you. At first, it's going to feel fake. It'll feel like cheap acting, like you're pretending to be someone you're not, and your mind will rebel. This is ridiculous. I'm just acting. People are going to see right through me. And you'll want to return to your comfort posture, the one where you shrink and disappear. Don't. Stay with the discomfort. Because what your mind sees as fake is actually just new. It's not that you're pretending. It's that you're practicing a version of yourself that doesn't feel natural yet. Like when you learn a new language and your words come out clumsy. It doesn't mean you're faking the language. It means you haven't mastered it yet. Seneca had a practice he did every morning. He would visualize the kind of person he wanted to be, not in terms of status or external achievements, but in terms of how that person would move through the world, how they'd walk, speak, react. And throughout the day, he would try to move like that person, speak like that person, react like that person, even if inside he still felt insecure or afraid. And over time, the gap between acting and being disappeared, not because he faked it forever, but because body and mind eventually synchronize. If you act confident long enough, you become confident. If you move with purpose, you develop purpose. If you walk like someone who matters, you start to believe that you matter. So let's make this practical. Next time you're heading into a place that intimidates you, do this. Before you go in, step aside. Find a private spot, a bathroom, your car, a corner. Hold a power pose for 2 minutes, hands on hips, or arms up like you just won something. Breathe deeply, fill your lungs. And while you do it, repeat in your mind, "I deserve to be here." It's going to feel awkward, like something out of a cheesy motivational video. Do it anyway, because it works. Your body will begin to shift. Your nervous system will calm down. And when you walk in, you'll walk in differently. Then, while you're inside, check in with your body constantly. When your shoulders start to curl in, roll them back. When your eyes drop to the floor, lift them. When your hands retreat into your pockets, bring them out. It's like training a muscle. At first, you have to think about it, but with time, it becomes automatic. And here's the secret that changes everything, my friend. You don't have to wait to feel confident to move with confidence. It works the other way around. You move with confidence, and then you feel confident. The body leads, the mind follows. It's always been that way. Nobody told you. Jordan Harbinger, who's interviewed hundreds of successful people, says the trait they share most isn't intelligence, talent, or luck. It's how they walk into a room, how they greet people, how they make eye contact, how they take up space without apologizing. And when he asks how they developed that presence, almost all of them say the same thing. They faked it until it became real. Not fake it till you make it in the sense of lying or pretending. Fake it till you make it as in practice the role until it becomes second nature. Like an actor who's played the part so many times, the lines between character and self begin to blur. So, if you want to reset your life, if you want to disappear from that version of you that walks through the world small and afraid and become someone who takes up space without fear, start here. Change the way you move. Walk slower, stand taller, speak a little softer, a little more deliberately. Hold eye contact 1 second longer than you're comfortable with. Smile even when you don't feel like it. And watch what happens. Watch how people respond differently, how conversations flow more easily, how opportunities start to appear. Not because the world changed, but because you changed the signal you were sending, and the world simply responded. Marcus Aurelius said it best: "The happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts. But your thoughts depend on the signals your body sends. So control your body, and you'll control your mind. Move like the person you want to be, and in time, you will become them." Lesson 5. Walk with peace. Imagine you're walking through the city. There's a brutal storm. The sky is gray, rain pounds the pavement. Cars splash water. People are running everywhere, desperate to find shelter. It's all rush, noise, chaos. But you keep walking. You don't run. You don't panic. You don't get soaked on the inside. Because you're carrying something most have forgotten: a steady umbrella. It doesn't stop the storm, but it protects you. It doesn't change the outside world, but it shields your inner one. That's what it means to walk with peace. To keep moving forward even when the world's screaming, even when life is far from perfect, even when everything around you is shaking, you choose not to shake with it. And that, my friend, changes the way you experience everything. Marcus Aurelius understood this better than anyone. And if anyone lived in the middle of storms, it was him. Wars, betrayals, plagues, impossible decisions. And still, he found calm. How did he do it? With mental order. He wrote, "Perfect tranquility consists in the good ordering of the mind, your own kingdom." Before facing the chaos of the empire each day, he'd sit with his notebook. He'd write down what he could control, what he had to accept, what he might lose. He didn't step out hoping everything would go perfectly. He stepped out with inner preparation, because he knew he couldn't control the world, but he could control how he responded to it. That's true Stoic peace, or as Dr. Rangan Chatterjee calls it, proactive peace. He says you shouldn't wait for life to calm down. You have to create calm within the storm. He says, you don't need an easier life, you need a quieter mind. And he's right. Peace isn't the absence of problems. It's the ability to breathe in the middle of them. So now I'm going to ask you something directly. How are you walking through life? With peace in, or like there's a ticking time bomb inside you? Because plenty of people say they're fine, but they're walking around with clenched jaws, tight stomachs, and minds at war. And then of course things spiral. They can't sleep, they burn out, they snap. They're buried under obligations, bills, disappointment, and constant noise. The car breaks down, and it feels like the end of the world. They miss a payment, and it's all downhill from there. They're carrying so much that they've forgotten what it feels like to move with ease. And no, I'm not telling you to ignore your responsibilities. I'm telling you that you can meet them without destroying yourself. You can get through tough days without fighting everything and everyone, including yourself. There's one thing you need to start doing. Carve out a moment each day just for you. Only for you. 5 minutes. Conscious breathing or total silence. Don't check your phone. Don't answer messages. Just breathe. And take the wheel back. Another thing. Set boundaries. You can't be available for everyone all the time. Don't answer calls that drain your energy. Don't say yes to everything just to avoid disappointing people. Your peace is worth more than your good image. You can also reconnect with yourself through simple but powerful activities. Maybe it's sipping a coffee with no distractions, tending to your plants, playing an instrument, dancing. These things are not a waste of time. They're emotional maintenance. And if you don't take care of your mind, no one else will. My friend, walking with peace doesn't mean walking slower. It means walking with intention, moving without dragging yourself, without chasing everything. It means carrying yourself with dignity, even on the heavy days. And that, even if it doesn't look like it, changes everything. Because yes, the world will always be chaotic, but you don't have to be. 6th lesson. Surround yourself with people who make you stronger. Imagine this. Every person you spend time with is like a different kind of weather. With some, it's spring. You feel light. Everything blossoms. Ideas flow. With others, it's a storm. You leave drenched in complaints, doubts, and harmless comments that soak all the way to your bones. And if you stay too long in the rain, even if you don't notice it at first, you end up cold, drained, and stuck. Haven't you felt that? You're at work, and that coworker who always sees the negative starts up again. Nothing matters, nothing works. Everything's pointless. Or you meet up with a friend, and instead of feeling inspired, you walk away convinced you'll never make it. Or maybe you get home, and someone close to you throws out jokes that sound light, but hit like needles. After a while, you start wondering why your calm is so shaky, why your confidence feels fragile. The truth is, we rarely stop to look closely at the effect our environment has on us. But if you want a reality check, ask yourself this: who are the 5 people I spend the most time with? Because whether you realize it or not, you're becoming like them. It's like plugging your phone into a broken charger. Instead of filling you up, it drains you slowly. And you only notice when your battery is already flashing red. Seneca saw it clearly. Associate with those who can make you better. The one who is with you is with you. He didn't say it to sound wise. He said it because he knew how much our company shapes us. It affects how we think, how we react, and even our ability to stay calm in the chaos. Epictetus warned of the same thing. If you spend time around people who live in anger or complaint, you'll inevitably start copying them, because the soul catches habits like a sickness. I've lived this myself. When I started changing my habits, taking care of my mind, trying to grow, I realized the circle around me didn't fit that path. 2 people made me feel small with every comment. One complained nonstop. Another froze at the smallest change. And the last one lived permanently in victim mode. I wanted to move forward, but every interaction felt like running with a backpack full of rocks. Eventually, I understood. If I wanted to hold on to my calm and confidence, I had to let go of some of that weight. And I'm not the only one. Oprah Winfrey once said that her success didn't just come from talent or hard work. It came from surrounding herself with people who lifted her up, not held her back. She chose to step away from draining relationships, even when they were close or meaningful in the past. She realized protecting her environment was also protecting her inner strength. Marcus Aurelius thought the same way. He knew we'd inevitably run into envious, arrogant, or ungrateful people, but insisted that our job was not to be pulled down by them, and to seek the company of those who shared virtue and reason. If you want to test this yourself, try this exercise. Write down the names of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Doesn't matter if they're friends, family, or coworkers. Next to each name, draw an arrow, up if they lift you, down if they drain you. When you're done, look at the pattern. If most arrows point down, there's your answer. That's why your mind feels like it's constantly under siege. The next step isn't to disappear from their lives overnight. It's to protect yours. Reduce conversations that spiral into endless complaining or gossip. Step out of dynamics you know always end badly. Find healthy excuses to prioritize other activities. And at the same time, increase moments with those who lift you. A short coffee, a quick call, a shared project. You don't need grand gestures, just more exposure to what fuels you and less to what drains you. And remember something crucial. You are also part of someone else's climate. Ask yourself what you bring when someone spends time with you. Do you energize them or wear them down? Being aware of this makes you someone who doesn't just protect their environment, but actually improves it. The Stoics believed that virtue wasn't something to hoard. It had to be shared. If your calm is strong, you'll spread calm. If your strength is solid, you'll help others rise. Because in the end, your calm and your confidence aren't isolated fortresses. They feed off the people who walk with you. If you choose your company well, you gain an invisible shield against any storm. But if you don't, no matter how strong you are, you'll end up soaked by weather you never asked for. The question is, are you going to let just anyone decide your inner climate? Or will you choose to surround yourself only with those who make you stronger? Lesson 7. Organize the inner chaos. Let's talk about something that probably happens to you more often than you'd like to admit. It's nighttime. You're in bed. The lights are off. The silence is perfect. Everything should be set up for you to sleep like a baby. But no. Your body is still, but your mind decides it's the perfect time to run a full-scale emergency drill with every unresolved issue in your life. Did I turn the gas off? What did my boss really mean with that comment today? I should have replied differently to that message. What if everything goes wrong tomorrow? Why did I do that 3 years ago? Why did I say that at that dinner? Did they misread my tone in that email? And so on, one thought after another, like a conveyor belt of worries that never stops. And you try everything. You toss and turn, change positions, adjust your pillow, count sheep. Nothing works. Because the problem isn't the mattress. It's the endless parade happening inside your head. And the worst part? Most of those worries aren't even real. They're ghosts, inventions, scenarios your mind builds like a psychological horror movie scriptwriter. But you give them space, you give them power. You hand them the mic and the spotlight for the night. And they're thrilled. They stay until sunrise putting on their show. Here's the deeper problem. Your mind isn't designed to sit still. It evolved over thousands of years to detect danger, anticipate threats, solve problems. That's what kept you alive back in the days when you lived in caves and had to dodge lions. But now, in the 21st century, where the lions are unpaid bills and misinterpreted texts, your brain still works the same way. It keeps looking for problems, even when there aren't any. It keeps sounding false alarms. And you believe every single one. Marcus Aurelius lived this firsthand. He ruled Rome, the largest empire in the known world. He faced real threats, invasions, betrayals, plagues, wars. And still, what worried him most wasn't the external enemy. It was the internal one. The runaway thoughts that attacked him right when he needed clarity. And he wrote something that should be tattooed on the forehead of anyone who suffers from anxiety. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. But of course, realizing it is easy. Living it, that's something else. Because when you're lying there in bed, heart racing and your mind on fire, you're not thinking about Marcus Aurelius. You're not thinking about philosophy. You just want it to stop, for everything to shut up, to sleep in peace like normal people do. The good news is, you can, but not by trying harder. Not by trying to control every thought like a security guard at the door of a club. Instead, you need to do the opposite. Stop stirring the water. Let me tell you something that changed my perspective. There was once an old fisherman who lived near a murky lake. Every morning he tried to fish, but the water was so stirred up that he couldn't see a thing. He'd reach in, stir the bottom, search desperately. And the more he searched, the murkier the water got. More mud came up. It became impossible to see anything. One day, tired and frustrated, he just sat on the shore. He stopped searching. He stopped moving. He just sat there, breathing, watching the lake. And slowly, without him doing anything, the mud began to settle. The water cleared. The fish appeared calmly floating, visible for the first time in weeks. Your mind works the same way. It doesn't need you to clean it. It needs you to stop stirring it up. Because every time you try to control a thought, you give it more strength. Every time you fight a worry, you feed it. And what you resist persists. What you intelligently ignore fades. Epictetus understood this better than anyone. He who had no control over his own freedom, who depended on others just to survive, discovered something profound. What disturbs you is not things themselves, but your thoughts about them. A message with no reply isn't an attack. It's just a message with no reply. A strange look isn't rejection. It's just a look. But your mind, if you let it run wild, will write full novels around every little detail. And those novels will steal your sleep. So how do you stop this? How do you organize the chaos inside without losing your mind in the process? Let's break it down. First, get it all out of your head. Everything. Don't keep anything in. Grab a pen and paper or open your notes app and start writing down every single thing that's spinning in your mind. No filter, no shame. Don't try to make it make sense. Just dump it. I need to call my mom. I don't know if they liked me. I'm short on money this month. I think I said something stupid yesterday. Did I lock the door? Right, until nothing's left floating around. Because while those thoughts are trapped inside, they keep bouncing off each other like pool balls. But once you get them out, they lose power. They become words. And words can be read, evaluated, organized, or even deleted. Second, and this might sound weird, but it works, give your worries a schedule. Yes, a schedule. Choose a time of day, maybe in the afternoon, 30 or 40 minutes, whatever you need. Make that your official worry time. In that window, you can think about anything you want. Spin it over, analyze it, stress if you have to. But outside of that time, when your mind tries to sneak in with drama, tell it firmly, not now. We'll talk at your time. At first, your brain will protest. It'll try to convince you that this is urgent, that you have to think about it right now. But with time, it starts to understand the rules. It starts to respect the boundaries, and the nights get quieter. Third, bring your mind back to the present when it drifts. And it will drift. All the time. That's its nature. But every time you notice it slipping into the past or the future, gently bring it back. Don't get angry. Just guide it, like you'd guide a distracted child back onto the path. You can do this using your senses. Look around and name 5 things you see, 4 things you hear, 3 things you can touch, 2 you can smell, 1 you can taste. This isn't some hippie trick. It's basic neuroscience. Your mind can't be in 2 places at once. If you anchor it to the present, to your body, to what's real right now, it can't keep building anxiety castles in the future. Seneca had a nightly routine he followed religiously. Every night before bed, he reviewed his day, not to punish himself, to learn. He asked himself, what did I do well? Where did I fall short? What can I do better tomorrow? But also, and this is what set him apart, he asked, what did I worry about too much? What fear turned out to be just smoke? Because Seneca knew most of our worries never come true, and yet we carry them like they're guaranteed to happen. Now, my friend, I need to tell you something you must carve deep into your mind. You can't control everything. You can't guarantee everything will go well. You can't prevent every mistake, every misunderstanding, every problem. And that's okay. Because life isn't about total control, it's about learning how to navigate the chaos with a little more calm. About organizing it just enough so it doesn't drown you. About giving your mind the space to settle so the mud clears and the water becomes still again. Disappearing from that version of you who lives in constant mental overdrive and transforming into someone who can think clearly has nothing to do with having fewer problems. It has everything to do with learning how to process them without turning them into monsters. With learning to put order where there used to be only noise. With giving your mind the tools to do its job without turning against you. So the next time you're tossing and turning in bed with the parade of thoughts marching on endlessly, remember this. You don't need to clean the lake. You just need to stop stirring it. Breathe deep. Let the mud settle. And trust that if you stay still long enough, the clarity always returns. My friend, I want to ask you something. What's the thought that makes the most noise at night? The one that shows up when everything else is quiet? Tell me in the comments if you feel like sharing. No one here is judging. We're all just learning how to bring order to our minds. And if you'd rather keep it to yourself, just leave the phrase, "Today I stop stirring the water." That way I'll know you're here walking this path with me and that you're truly part of this community. Lesson 8. Learn to let go. Have you ever stayed in a friendship that no longer brings anything to your life? Just out of habit? You tell yourself it's out of loyalty, that you've known each other for years, that you can't just walk away like that. But the truth is, every conversation drains you, holds you back, confuses you. There's no more growth, only attachment. And you know it, but you stay, because you think letting go means losing, when in reality, more often than not, letting go means saving yourself. My friend, we're not talking about grudges or revenge here. We're talking about the things you carry every day without realizing, expectations that were never met, relationships that have expired, versions of yourself that no longer fit, but that you keep holding on to like your life depends on them. Sometimes clinging to what no longer serves you is as pointless as trying to stop a car from falling off a cliff. The car is already rolling downhill, the brakes are gone, the engine's smoking, and there you are clinging to the bumper thinking you can still save it. But you can't. And if you keep holding on, all you'll do is fall with it. There are moments when the smartest thing isn't to fight harder, it's to let go before everything gets heavier than you can carry. Epictetus put it perfectly in a phrase that's still powerful today. It's not what happens to you, but how you interpret it that determines how you feel. What's holding you back isn't the past, it's the story you keep telling yourself about it. It's the meaning you've repeated over and over again. I should have made it by now. They never should have left. It wasn't supposed to end like that. And every time you repeat those words, you stay tied. You keep tugging on a rope that no longer leads anywhere, but some people do choose to let go, and in doing so, they find purpose. Like Fernando de la Guardia, who went through something that could have broken him. He suffered facial paralysis from a rare illness. His face changed, and so did his life. He could have drowned in the why me, the fear, the shame, but he chose a different path. He let go of the need to control, to keep up appearances, to resist reality. And from that place, he founded Imbatables, a project to share stories of resilience, vulnerability, and courage. He interviewed others who had gone through trials, and in each conversation, he showed what's possible when you let go and start building from what you do have. So, do you want to learn how to let go? First, identify the emotional baggage you've been dragging around. It might be a failure you haven't forgiven, someone who still lives in your memory, a life plan that no longer fits who you are. Make a list. Write it out. Name it. Then do one of the most freeing exercises I can suggest. Write a goodbye letter to whatever you need to release. You don't have to send it. You don't have to show it to anyone. Just write. Give that ending a voice. Because sometimes what's hardest to let go of is what we never dared to name. Letting go doesn't mean denying what was once important. It means honoring it and then moving on. It means making space for what could be. Because if your hands are full of the past, how will you ever build something new? So now I want you to think about this carefully. What could you accomplish if you stopped clinging to what no longer serves you? Share it in the comments and encourage this Stoic community to do the same. And if you've made it this far, get ready. Because what comes next isn't just another piece of advice. It's the principle that could be the turning point between living the same story on repeat or finally starting to transform your life from the inside out. 9th lesson. The mind trains too. Picture this. In Rome, gladiators spent endless hours preparing their bodies. Swords, shields, running under the scorching sun. Every muscle trained to endure blows, cuts, and exhaustion. A single mistake could cost them their life. But there was another battle, one that wasn't fought with a blade, but in silence. The battle of the mind. The Stoics understood this well. You could have the strongest body in the world and still fall apart if you hadn't learned to master your thoughts. Because when fear showed up before a fight, when the crowd roared, when the blood started to flow, it wasn't your muscles that decided your fate. It was your inner strength. And the Stoics warned about this too. What's the use of a strong body if the mind is weak? In the end, when life throws its punches, it's not your biceps that determine your path. It's your ability to stay calm under pressure. Now tell me, doesn't something similar happen to you today? You spend time watching your diet, stretching, maybe even hitting the gym consistently. But when an unexpected problem shows up, when you get bad news, when someone pushes your buttons, where's all that control? Your mind, the one you haven't trained with the same discipline, collapses like a sandcastle at the first wave. Picture this. Someone trains for months to run a marathon. They train daily, eat right, time their runs. But halfway through the race, an unexpected pain hits, and their mind starts whispering, "You can't keep going. Just quit. What's the point?" The body still has strength, but the untrained mind becomes the worst enemy. And it's the same for you. You can be healthy, strong, with all the right conditions around you. But if your mind hasn't been worked on, the first blow from life knocks you flat. Your mind, my friend, is like a wild young horse. It's powerful, but if you don't learn how to guide it, it'll drag you down any path, even into the abyss. It'll charge at every distraction, every fear, every useless thought. And when you try to pull back, it might be too late. But if you train it, little by little, with patience, that same wild force becomes your greatest ally, capable of carrying you further than you ever imagined. Let me give you another everyday scene. You sit down to meditate for 5 minutes. You close your eyes. After 30 seconds, your brain is already listing emails, groceries, awkward conversations. You get frustrated and think, "I'm no good at this." But you try again the next day. You manage to stay with your breath for 40 seconds. A week later, you complete the full 5 minutes. And one day, without even realizing it, someone interrupts you harshly and you don't react the same. You breathe, think, respond better. That's the invisible result of mental training. Epictetus put it simply, "Nothing great is created suddenly." Mental strength isn't something you're born with. It's daily practice, just like lifting weights. You don't start with 100 kilos, you start with consistency and small reps that add up to real strength. Today, science has a name for this: neuroplasticity. It means your brain literally reshapes based on what you repeat. Stanford neuroscientist Andrew Huberman explains it this way: every time you practice a mental habit, even for a few minutes, you're rewiring your nervous system to respond differently next time. It's not magic, it's biology. And here's the best part: you don't need endless hours. You just need small, consistent practices. Start your day by reading 2 pages of an inspiring book instead of opening social media. 2 pages might seem like nothing, but it's a signal to your mind. We start the day by feeding, not draining ourselves. Another simple practice: every morning, write down how you feel and what you learned yesterday. It's not a teenager's diary. It's a mental lab. That's where you detect what steals your calm, what strengthens it, and how to adjust. Writing gives shape to your thoughts instead of letting them stay as vague noise. You can also transform your nights. Instead of wasting an hour scrolling, listen to a podcast that makes you reflect, or play a breathing audio. It might feel like nothing at first, but that gesture improves your sleep and gives you more clarity the next day. Mental training has a powerful effect on your confidence, because the next time life hits you, you'll know you have tools, that your mind has already practiced holding the line in small moments, and now it's ready for the big ones. Just like an athlete trusts their training, you'll trust your mind, because you've prepared it. Lesson 10. Your body doesn't lie. Picture this. Rome, 167 AD. Marcus Aurelius is on the battlefield. The legions are camped in hostile territory. The cold cuts through the skin, and news of another ambush could arrive at any moment. The soldiers are watching him, waiting for a sign, something that tells them whether their emperor is afraid, or if they can trust they'll make it out of this. And Marcus Aurelius knows it. He knows he can't afford to walk with his shoulders slumped. He can't afford to stare at the ground, because his body will speak before his mouth does, and what his body says will determine whether those men fight with courage or with despair. So he stands tall, pushes his chest out, walks slowly but firmly through the tents. He looks his men in the eyes. He doesn't give a speech, doesn't say anything special. He just walks. But his body says, "We're okay, we've got this." And the soldiers feel it. Even if deep down Marcus Aurelius is full of doubts, even if he has no idea how this war will end, his body sends a message that his mind starts to believe. That's something most people don't get. You think you have to feel good before you look good, but it works the other way around. Your body doesn't reflect your mind. Your body directs your mind. It's the conductor of the orchestra. And if it starts playing a tune of defeat, your brain has no choice but to follow along. Look at yourself right now. Don't fake it. Don't adjust your posture just because I told you to. Really look at how you're sitting. If you're watching this on your phone, chances are your neck is bent forward like a broken crane. Shoulders rolled in, back curved, face about 12 inches from the screen. You look like a shrimp. And it's not your fault. It's the default posture of the 21st century. The posture of modern defeat. The one you take on without realizing every time you sit, every time you walk, every time you're standing in line. And the worst part isn't how it looks. The worst part is what that posture is telling your brain. Because your body and mind are connected by a two-way highway. When you shrink, your brain gets the message, there's danger, make yourself small, hide. And even if there's no real danger, even if you're just on your couch watching a video, your nervous system responds like you're about to be attacked. Cortisol spikes, breathing shortens, muscles tighten, and suddenly, you're anxious, and you don't even know why. But it works both ways. If you change your body, you change your mind. And this isn't feel-good philosophy. It's hard science. Amy Cuddy, a social psychologist at Harvard, proved it in an experiment that changed the way we understand the body-mind connection. She had a group of people hold power poses for just 2 minutes. Chest open, arms wide, chin up. Then she measured their hormone levels, and what she found was stunning. Just 2 minutes in that posture increased testosterone by 20% and lowered cortisol by 25%. Their bodies told their brains, "You're powerful, you can handle this." And their brains believed it. Epictetus, who walked with a permanent limp from the torture he suffered as a slave, understood this better than anyone. He couldn't fix his leg, he couldn't erase the scars, but he could control how he carried his body. He stood upright, he spoke clearly, he met people's eyes, because he understood something fundamental. Your body is the first thing the world sees, but it's also the first thing you experience. If you walk like someone defeated, you feel defeated. If you stand like someone who matters, you start to believe it. Picture this. You're on a video call with someone important, a client, a boss, someone you need something from, and without noticing, you're shrinking. Shoulders forward, neck pulled in, hands nervously fidgeting with a pen off camera. Your voice gets smaller, your words less certain, because your body is telling your brain, "We're not enough. This is too much." And your brain, ever loyal, floods you with insecurity. Now picture the opposite, same call, but this time you sit up straight. Plant your feet, open your shoulders, keep your hands visible on the table. Take a deep breath before you speak. Your voice comes out clearer, your thoughts more organized, because your body just told your brain, "We've got this. We're ready." And the wildest part? The other person can feel it too. Even if they don't know why. Even if they can't explain it. There's something about you that communicates confidence. Not because you said something brilliant, but because your body spoke before you did. Now think about the last time you had to do something important. What was your body doing? Probably curled up, arms crossed, hands hidden, eyes down. Every muscle sending your brain the message, "We can't do this. This is too much. Let's run." And your brain, obedient as ever, filled you with doubt, fear, and the urge to cancel everything and stay home. So, do you want to know how to use your body to hack your mind and start feeling different? Start with your feet. Right now. Where are they? If you're sitting, they're probably crossed, dangling, or wrapped around the legs of your chair. Put them down. Plant them firmly on the ground. Both of them. Set your soles like you're growing roots. That simple act alone tells your nervous system, "I'm not running, I'm here, I'm present." Now your shoulders. I bet they're up near your ears. Do this. Lift them even higher, until it almost hurts. Hold them there for 5 seconds. Then let them drop. Feel the release, do it 3 times. It's like rebooting your body, like restarting a frozen computer. Next, your chest. Roll your shoulders back. Imagine an invisible string tied to your sternum, gently pulling it forward. Don't overdo it. Don't stand like a soldier in a parade. Just open. Breathe deeply. Fill your lungs all the way. Count to 4 as you inhale. Hold it for 4. Exhale for 4. Your body will start to calm down. Your mind will stop spinning. And last, your gaze. Stop looking at the floor. There's nothing interesting down there. Lift your chin. Look straight ahead. If you're alone, look in the mirror. Even if it feels ridiculous, even if it sounds like nonsense, do it. Because your brain needs to see that you're not hiding, that you're not running, that you're here, standing tall, facing whatever's coming. And though it might seem hard, it's not impossible. Just look at what Scott Tilley, a former CIA agent, used to teach people preparing for interrogations: how to stay calm when everything around them screamed danger. And one of the first things he taught was this: your body is your first message. Before you talk, before you even think of what to say, your body is already speaking, and what it says will shape how you feel and how others respond to you. Seneca said it best in a phrase that deserves to be carved somewhere. You'll see it every day. The body is not the prison of the soul, it is its instrument. And like any instrument, it needs tuning, it needs practice. It needs you to use it consciously, not drag it around like dead weight. So I ask you, my friend, are you going to keep walking like you're carrying the world on your shoulders? Or are you finally going to start using your body for what it is, a tool to change your mental state? Because resetting your life doesn't just start with changing your thoughts. It starts with changing how you stand, how you walk, how you breathe. It starts with telling your body, we're not going to live curled up anymore. We're not going to walk like we've already lost, even if we don't feel it yet. We're going to move like we're already the person we want to become. And if you do that, if you really do it, your mind won't have a choice but to follow. Lesson 11. Let go of the inherited ego. Some lives don't begin with a choice. They begin with a costume. They put it on you without asking, sometimes from childhood. Not with words, but with gestures, glances, expectations. And without even realizing it, you start walking around in that invisible suit. One you never chose, but everyone assumes fits you perfectly. You're the strong one, the responsible one, the successful one in the family, the one who never gets it wrong. And you believe it, of course, because everyone claps. Because it looks good, because that's supposed to be you. But with time, that suit starts to feel tight. It pinches your shoulders, chokes your neck. You can't breathe easily anymore, because now you're not walking freely. You're measuring every step so you won't disappoint anyone. You're no longer speaking from how you feel, but from what's expected. And the most dangerous part? You begin to forget what it felt like to move in your own skin. That, my friend, is the inherited ego. A borrowed identity you've repeated so many times. You've started to believe it's real, but deep down you know, it's not yours. It doesn't represent you. And the longer you keep wearing it, the further you drift, day by day, from the life you could actually be building. Even author Ryan Holiday went through it. He had a brilliant career in marketing, worked with top brands, earned money, gained respect. But something inside didn't fit. He felt like he was playing a role that wasn't him. So he did the unthinkable. He let it all go. He chose short-term discomfort so he could build from something real. He turned to reading, writing, and sharing Stoic philosophy, and that's how he found his true voice. What transformed him most wasn't success. It was daring to let go of the suit that everyone applauded, but that he could no longer stand. What struck him deeply was something Seneca wrote. It's not that we have little time, but that we waste a lot of it. And there's no greater waste than living by someone else's desires, fulfilling a plan that was never yours, forcing a version of yourself that pulls you away from your essence. Because that inherited ego isn't strength, it's fear dressed up as duty. And yes, I speak from experience. I wore that suit too. For years, I thought I had to follow the path that had been laid out for me, stay in the family business, repeat the story that was already written. and for a while I tried. I forced myself to fit, but with every step I felt further from myself. Until one day, facing a project that didn't excite me, it hit me. I was writing a life that wasn't mine. That's when I chose to change. Not all at once, but step by step. And each step was mine. That changed everything. If you want to transform your life and walk your own path, here are the things that helped me. First, identify the beliefs you carry that you've never questioned. Maybe you think your worth depends on productivity, or that changing direction means you've failed. Ask yourself, do I really believe this? Or was I taught it without being asked? Second, reflect on your true desires. That degree you studied, was it yours? Or was it to please someone? That lifestyle, did you choose it or did you copy it because it looked right? You don't need to have it all figured out now, but you do need to start clearing out the noise. And finally, practice real humility, the kind that lets you say, maybe I'm not who they expected me to be, but I am who I need to be. That's not rebellion, it's maturity. It's taking ownership of yourself without the labels others handed you. Letting go of that inherited ego is uncomfortable, yes, but it's also the beginning of a deep freedom. When you stop playing a borrowed role, the journey toward your truth begins. And that journey isn't instant, but it is transformative, because you no longer need to fit in. You just need to find yourself. So, I'll leave you with one question that might open the door. Are you living your life, or the one others designed for you? Write it in the comments if you feel ready to share. Because sometimes saying it out loud is the first step back to yourself. Lesson 12. Decide that you deserve to be okay. Let's talk about something uncomfortable, something no one's probably ever said to you out loud, but that you need to hear. The reason you're not happy isn't because your life is terrible. It's not because you don't have enough. It's not because the circumstances are against you. The reason you're not happy is because deep down, you don't give yourself permission to be. Sounds harsh, I know, but really think about it. How many times have you been in a perfect moment, and instead of enjoying it, your mind started thinking about everything that could go wrong? How many times have you felt genuine joy, and then felt guilty for feeling it? How many times have you turned down invitations, opportunities, or simple moments of pleasure, because some voice in your head said, "That's not for you. You don't deserve that. Better stay where it's safe." Put it in context. You're at a party. The music's good, people are having fun, someone reaches out and invites you to dance. And what do? You stay seated. Nah, I don't dance. I'm no good at that. I'll look ridiculous. I'll just stay here. And there you are, drink in hand, watching others laugh, move, mess up, stumble, and keep dancing. And inside you feel that sting of regret, that voice whispering, you should have gone for it. But you didn't. Not because you couldn't, but because you decided you didn't deserve that moment of freedom, that you didn't deserve to feel light, that you didn't deserve to enjoy something without paying for it. And this doesn't just happen at parties. It happens everywhere. Someone invites you on a trip. No, I've got too much work. Do you really have that much work? Or are you just not giving yourself permission to rest? You're offered a promotion. I'm not sure I'm ready. Are you really not ready? Or do you just not believe you deserve success? Someone compliments you. It's nothing really. Was it really nothing? Or are you just unable to accept being seen in a positive light? We live with this toxic idea that happiness must be earned, that you have to suffer enough, work hard enough, sacrifice enough, and then, only then, if the universe feels generous, it'll give you permission to be happy. But that day never comes, because there's always more to do. Always something missing, always a reason to postpone your own joy. Jim Carrey, the king of comedy, right? Spent decades of his life not allowing himself to be happy. He talks about it in interviews with brutal honesty. He believed that if he let himself enjoy things, if he let his guard down, life would make him pay. That he had to stay on constant alert. That happiness was a dangerous luxury. And he lived like that until he realized something fundamental. Waiting for the perfect moment to be happy, he wasted years of imperfect but real moments. And he said something I've never forgotten. Your need for acceptance can make you disappear completely. Because that's what happens when you live waiting for permission. You disappear. You become invisible. A shadow watching others live while you wait for your turn. A turn that never comes, because no one's going to show up and say, "It's okay now. You're allowed to be happy." Seneca wrote it 2,000 years ago, and it's still true. It's not that we have too little time. It's that we waste too much of it. And we waste it exactly there, in that endless waiting, in that constant denial of our own joy, in that belief that life must first be endured and only then may be enjoyed. But the Stoics weren't miserable. They didn't preach suffering for suffering's sake. What they said was something deeper. Happiness doesn't depend on external circumstances. It depends on your internal decision to allow it. Marcus Aurelius had an empire in crisis. Wars, plagues, betrayals. And still, every day he reminded himself, the happiness of your life depends on the quality of your thoughts, not your circumstances, your thoughts. And one of those thoughts must be, I deserve to be okay. I deserve to enjoy. I deserve this moment of joy without having to justify it, without having to earn it, without needing to apologize for it. But here's the problem. That thought doesn't come naturally, because we've been trained to believe the opposite. Since we were kids, we were taught that pleasure comes after duty, that first you work, then you play, that first you suffer, then you enjoy. And we carry that programming into adulthood, until one day you're 40, and you realize you've spent 2 decades working, waiting for the time to enjoy. And that time never came. So how do you break this? How do you give yourself permission to be happy when everything in your wiring says you don't deserve it yet? Start small. Today, right now. Do something that brings you pleasure without any productive justification. Not something that helps you grow. Not something that improves you. Just something that makes you feel good. Maybe it's listening to a song you love. Eating something you enjoy without guilt. Calling someone who makes you laugh. Sitting for 5 minutes, doing absolutely nothing. Whatever it is, do it consciously. Do it saying, "This is for me, because I deserve to feel good." At first, it's going to feel uncomfortable. Your mind will push back. You should be working. This is a waste of time. You're being selfish. Let it protest. Ignore it. Because that voice isn't wisdom, it's fear. It's programmed guilt. It's someone else's voice you learned. Someone who also didn't give themselves permission to be happy. Then start saying yes more often. When someone invites you to something that sounds fun, say yes. Don't overthink it. Don't come up with reasons not to go. Just say yes, even if you're scared, even if you feel out of place. Say yes and see what happens. Because the best experiences of your life are waiting on the other side of that yes you never dare to say. Epictetus put it simply, freedom is the only thing worth pursuing. And that freedom begins the moment you stop needing permission, from others or from yourself, to live your life. When you decide that your happiness isn't something you earn, it's something you choose, every day, in every moment. And here comes the most important part, my friend. Create happiness rituals. Small ones, silly ones that only make sense to you. Maybe it's wearing your favorite socks on Mondays, buying flowers for your house every Friday, making a special breakfast every Sunday, watching that show you love without feeling guilty. Anything, but do it regularly. Make it sacred. Because those tiny acts of rebellion against your own denial are what remind you have the right to be okay. You don't have to earn it. You already have it. Seneca had gardens, not because he needed them, but because they brought him peace, and he allowed himself to walk through them, to get lost in them, for no other reason than the simple joy of it. And that, in the middle of all his responsibilities and problems, kept him sane, kept him human. Marcus Aurelius wrote, not for publishing, not for history, for himself. Because it gave him clarity, because it brought him peace, and he gave himself permission to do that, even with an empire to run. You need that too. You need to give yourself permission to be happy without justification, without having to prove it first, without needing to suffer enough before you deserve it, because life is not a transaction. It's not a point system where you accumulate pain to redeem joy. It's something that happens now, while you wait, while you doubt, while you deny yourself. So how long are you going to sit there watching other people dance? How long are you going to keep putting off your own life, waiting for the perfect moment? Because that moment doesn't exist. Only this one does, and you decide whether to live it or let it pass you by, restarting your life, disappearing from that version of yourself that lives in constant denial and transforming into someone who embraces each moment. Doesn't begin with massive changes. It begins with one simple but radical decision. I decide that I deserve to be okay. Now. Not later. Not when things are perfect. Now. And then you act from that decision and watch how everything starts to change. Lesson 13. Choose your battles. Before I give you the best piece of advice you'll hear today, let me tell you a story you probably already know, but have never looked at this way. There was once a father traveling with his son and their donkey along a long, dusty road. At first, the boy rode the donkey while the father walked beside him. Before long, they passed some people who muttered, "How rude. That boy lets his poor father walk under the sun." So they switched. Now the father was on the donkey and the boy walked. But soon after, others criticized, "What kind of man lets his son walk while he rides so comfortably?" So they both got on the donkey. But of course, more complaints. "That poor animal. They're going to break its back." Frustrated, they both got off and began walking while the donkey went free. But passing through another village, they heard yet another remark. "They have a donkey and they're walking. How stupid." Exhausted from trying to please everyone, they finally realized one thing. No matter what they did, someone would always judge them. Do you see it now? You could spend your whole life trying to please everyone and still be criticized. That's why, more important than trying to be liked by all, is learning to choose your battles, to decide what truly deserves your energy, what's actually worth standing up for, and what you can just let go of, without guilt. And to show you this doesn't only happen in fables, let me tell you a true story about someone who chose her battle wisely and changed something that seemed impossible. Vitória Mesquita, a young Brazilian activist with Down syndrome, spent years seeing how her condition was wrongly described online. On Google, she found outdated, disrespectful, even offensive terms. She could have spent her energy arguing with every ignorant commenter on social media, getting into 1,000 little fights. But she didn't. Vitória chose just one battle, the one that could actually make a difference. What did she do? She led a campaign to get Google to update the definition. She did it without insults, without noise. She gathered support, got institutions involved, and spoke with clarity and respect. And she succeeded. Not because she shouted the loudest, but because she aimed with precision. Vitória didn't try to fight every fight. She chose where to place her strength, and that made the impact. Now imagine this. You're at a family dinner. Your aunt, in her usual tone, says, "I just don't get how you can spend so many hours on that. Do you really think that's a career?" And you, fork in hand, feel something rise up inside you. Your blood boils. You want to unload everything you've held back. But is it worth it? Next time that happens, ask yourself before saying a single word, will this matter in 5 years? If the answer is no, breathe, literally. Count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Inhale through your nose. Exhale through your mouth. Then choose how to respond. You could say, "Thanks for your opinion, Aunt, but I'm good with what I do." And keep eating, that's it. Also, prepare ahead of time. If you know you'll see someone like that, decide what topics you won't discuss. Politics, work, personal decisions. That's it, you don't have to go there. And if someone crosses the line, one sentence is enough. I'd rather not talk about that. That's not cowardice. That's emotional intelligence. Choosing your battles is how you protect your energy. And that energy is what you need to change the things that actually depend on you. Because the world is full of cheap comments, unsolicited opinions, and subtle provocations. But you get to decide whether to step into the mud or keep walking toward what truly matters. Remember what Marcus Aurelius wrote: "The best revenge is to be unlike your enemy." That's not weakness, that's mastery. It's knowing when to speak and when to stay quiet. It's not letting yourself be pulled into fights that drain your peace and give you nothing in return. You can't control what others do, but you can control how you respond. And when you respond with calm, with purpose, with strength, your life changes. Not all at once, but at the roots. Because every time you refuse to waste energy on what doesn't serve you, you take another step closer to the life you actually want to build. A life that this time will truly be yours. Lesson 14. Stay steady when everything falls apart. Close your eyes for a moment and picture yourself in a frozen landscape. Silence sharp as a blade, wind slicing your skin like knives, a ship trapped in sheets of ice cracking beneath it like they're ready to swallow it whole. That's what Ernest Shackleton and his men faced in Antarctica. The ship Endurance was locked in place, unmoving, condemned to be crushed. Fear spread through the crew. Some panicked, others shut down completely. The normal reaction would have been collapse, but Shackleton chose something else: to walk among his men, to project calm, to lead by example. He didn't sell illusions or make impossible promises. He simply held the line. We're getting out of this together. And they did. What kept Shackleton going wasn't luck or superhuman strength. It was his ability to be the cliff that holds still while the waves crash. That kind of strength is exactly what the Stoics had been seeking for centuries. They knew true greatness wasn't in avoiding the storm. It was in standing tall when the storm hits. Marcus Aurelius wrote it with brutal clarity: "Be like the rocky headland against which the waves break. It stands firm, and the seething waters are laid to rest at its feet." That's the Stoic image, not someone cold or numb, but someone who's learned to stay whole when the world outside tries to break them. What we admire in Shackleton is the same thing the Stoics admired in virtue: the ability to govern yourself when everything else falls apart. And this is where your life comes in. You don't need to be trapped in Antarctic ice to feel like things are collapsing. All it takes is one phone call, a crisis at work, or an argument exploding at home. Suddenly, the world shakes. Everyone around you is running, shouting, unraveling. And in that moment, you have a choice: get swept up in the chaos or be the one who holds the line. The Stoics trained exactly for that. That's why they practiced negative visualization, imagining they could lose their wealth, their health, or even the people they loved. Not to suffer ahead of time, but to prepare, so that when the blow landed, it wouldn't find them unguarded. They had already rehearsed their response. Shackleton, without even realizing it, did the same. He accepted the ship was lost and focused entirely on what could still be saved: his crew's lives. Now picture a moment from everyday life. A meeting at work spirals out of control. Voices rise, blame flies, tension thickens. Most people feed the fire, get pulled into the noise, but you choose a different path. You breathe, slow down, listen more than you speak, and when you do speak, your words are clear and steady. In that moment, you become a lighthouse. And others, even if they don't say it, begin to steady themselves around you. Calm doesn't mean passivity. It means strategy. The Stoics knew that mastering yourself was the first condition for influencing the world. Because tell me, how can you lead, inspire, or guide others if you're the first to lose control? Staying steady doesn't mean standing still. It means acting from a place where your emotions don't take the wheel. If you want to build that steadiness, start with small mental anchors. A phrase you repeat in moments of tension: "I am not the chaos. I am the calm." It's not superstition. It's a trigger that resets your posture, your breath, your focus. Then train yourself to slow down in the storm. While others run, you measure every step. That doesn't make you slow, it makes you precise. And above all, remember, the storm always passes. No noise lasts forever. But the confidence you gain from holding your ground can last a lifetime. Shackleton survived because he chose to hold steady when everything seemed lost. The Stoics taught us to do the same, not just in extreme moments, but in everyday life. They refused to be dragged down by misfortune, criticism, or fear because they knew that within each of us, there's a space nothing and no one can reach unless we allow it. That is your refuge. That is your fortress. So, my friend, when the next wave of chaos comes, and it will, remember, your role is not to control the sea. It's to decide whether you'll be rock or sand. Sand scatters at the first hit. Rock remains. And that choice and the choice to stay standing when everything is falling, that's what defines your true strength. Lesson 15. Stop being your own enemy. There's something no one tells you when they talk about personal transformation. All the books, all the videos, all those motivational quotes printed over sunset pictures talk to you about external enemies, about the toxic people you need to cut from your life, about the bosses who don't appreciate you, about the partners who don't deserve you. But there's one enemy no one talks about, one that sleeps in your bed, eats breakfast with you, follows you everywhere, and you can't escape from it. And that enemy has your face, your voice, and knows every single one of your weak spots better than anyone else in the world. Put it in perspective. It's Monday morning. Your alarm goes off and your eyes are still glued shut. Before your feet even touch the floor, before you even remember where you left your phone, it's already started. That voice. Another week of the same old thing. Ugh, I can't deal with this. You get up half asleep, walk to the bathroom, wash your face, and when you look in the mirror, there it is again. Look at you, getting older every day and still stuck in the same place. You get dressed, pick a shirt, put it on, take it off. Nope, not that one, or that one. Honestly, none of them look good on you. You leave the house 20 minutes late because you got stuck trying to pick out clothes. You get to work, and someone greets you with a dry morning. Your brain immediately translates it into, they're mad at you, you must have done something wrong, or worse, they can't stand you, they're just pretending. In the morning meeting, everyone speaks up except you. Not because you don't have ideas, but because every time you open your mouth, that voice cuts in first. Don't say something stupid. They'll think you're clueless. Just keep quiet. So you stay quiet. And then on the way home, that same voice punishes you for not speaking up. It's a perfect loop of self-destruction. And the worst part isn't that the voice exists. The worst part is that you've been listening to it for so long, you don't even question it anymore. You just assume it's telling the truth, that it's being realistic, that it's your instinct protecting you from embarrassment. But no, my friend, it's not protection. It's pure sabotage. It's like having a personal trainer who, instead of motivating you, says, "Don't even bother, fatty. You're going to fail anyway." Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire. He had the power to command armies, sign laws, decide the fate of millions. And still, in his private notebooks, he wrote again and again about his true enemy, his own runaway thoughts. There's a phrase he repeated like a spell against the chaos. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. If you let toxic thoughts linger, sooner or later you become them. You turn gray on the inside, heavy, bitter, not because the world is terrible, but because you chose to only see what's terrible in it. And here comes the part that's going to sting, but you need to hear it. No one else can reset your life for you. Not a spiritual guru, not a therapist, not your partner, not your best friend. No one can go inside your head and clean up the mess. It's on you, only you. And as long as you keep letting that voice call the shots, you're going to stay stuck in the same version of yourself you claim to hate. But there's hope, because that voice isn't invincible, it's just a badly learned habit. And habits can be changed. The first thing you need to do, the very first, is catch it in the act. When it speaks, when it says something destructive, shut it down. Don't just let it slide. Imagine it's a real person standing in front of you. Would you let someone talk to you like that? Would you let a stranger tell you you're worthless, that you shouldn't even try? Of course not. So why do you let yourself do it? Start writing down everything you say to yourself. Keep a record. It can be on your phone, in a notebook, whatever works. When you catch yourself thinking something like, "I'm a mess," write it down. When you say to yourself, "No one takes me seriously," note that too. Make a list of all those toxic thoughts you keep repeating in your head. Then, when you have a quiet moment, read them out loud. As if you were saying them to someone else. You're going to feel ashamed. You're going to realize how brutal they sound when they're dragged out of the shadows. Seneca had a technique for this. Every night before bed, he reviewed his whole day. He went over his actions, his words, his thoughts. Not to punish himself, but to learn. He'd ask, "What did I mess up today? What could I have done better?" But also, and this is key, he'd ask, "Was I too harsh on myself?" Because Seneca knew that excessive self-punishment doesn't make you a better person. It just makes you smaller. Now comes the active part. Once you've got your list of destructive thoughts, you need to replace them. Not with cheap motivational lies. Not with Instagram quotes that say, "You're amazing," without any substance. Replace them with something more honest. Something that's true, but also fair. For example, if you say, "I'm a total failure," change it to, "I've failed at some things like everyone, but I've also achieved others." If you think, "No one respects me," try, "Some people value me, others don't," and that's completely normal. The difference is subtle but powerful. You're not denying reality. You're just refusing to exaggerate it against yourself. You're being honest, without being cruel. And doing that over and over again changes everything. Because the brain learns through repetition. If you keep telling it you're garbage, it'll believe you. But if you keep telling it you're human, imperfect but capable, it'll believe that too. Epictetus, who spent half his life as a slave, had a motto that kept him going through the worst. You can't control what happens to you, but you can control how you respond. And that includes how you respond to your own thoughts. When a destructive thought shows up, you don't have to fight it. Just let it pass, like a cloud. It's there, you see it, you acknowledge it, but you don't hold on to it. You don't turn it into your identity. And here's the final trick, the one that's helped me the most in my own life. Celebrate every time you succeed. Every time you catch that voice in the act and shut it down, celebrate it. Doesn't matter if it feels silly. High-five yourself, smile like an idiot. Give yourself a mental "well done." Because you're training a new muscle, and that muscle needs positive reinforcement to grow. You need to associate the act of stopping those thoughts with something good, something that makes you feel strong. Think about it. If you had a dog that growled at you every time you came home, you wouldn't just let it happen. You'd train it. You'd teach it that growling isn't okay. Your mind is exactly the same. It needs training, it needs boundaries, it needs you to show it, patiently but firmly, that it doesn't get to run the show anymore. That now, you're the one in charge. Disappearing from that version of yourself that you hate and transforming into someone who walks without invisible chains is not a fast process. You're not going to wake up tomorrow as a new person. But every day you choose not to beat yourself up. Every day you choose to speak to yourself with a bit more kindness. You're taking a step toward that transformation. And those steps, however small they seem, are what build an entirely new life. So now, my friend, I ask you, are you going to keep being the enemy in your own story? Or are you finally going to put your fists down and start treating yourself the way you'd treat someone you truly love? Because resetting your life starts right there, the moment you decide that your mind is no longer going to be a battlefield. Lesson 16. Why do you let others decide your worth? Years ago in Rome, a slave could be insulted constantly by his master. He might be called useless, lazy, insignificant. But there was one, Epictetus, who understood a truth that made him untouchable. No one could take away his worth unless he handed it over. They could chain his body, but they couldn't chain his mind. That was his freedom, even in slavery. And that lesson, centuries later, is just as necessary today. Let's be honest. How many times have you let a simple comment ruin your day? It doesn't even have to be a direct insult. Someone says, "You look tired," and suddenly you're convinced your energy's gone. Or, "That shirt is interesting," and now you never want to wear it again. It's like people's words have a direct switch to your self-esteem. And the worst part? Most of the time, they didn't even mean it badly. The real problem is how easily we give it all away. We hand others the pen to write our own definition. And of course, if you let anyone decide who you are, you end up becoming a reflection of their judgments instead of the owner of your own voice. The Stoics spoke of inner autonomy, that kind of independence of the soul that doesn't rely on praise or criticism to stand strong. Seneca warned that those who live for external approval are like slaves changing masters every time the room changes. One day people applaud you and you think you're worthy. The next they criticize you and you feel like nothing. Is that really how you want to live? On that kind of emotional roller coaster? Here's an example. A young artist exhibits his first piece. Some people praise it, others laugh, and one even says out loud it looks like a child's drawing. The artist crumbles inside and decides never to show his work again. What really happened? It wasn't the criticism that killed his art. It was the permission he gave it to become a sentence. But someone else in his place could have said, "I like what I made, and I'm going to keep learning." That shift, refusing to hand your worth to someone else's judgment, can change an entire life. You've lived this too, in everyday moments. A joke in the office WhatsApp group, a strange look on the street, that silence after you give your opinion. Tiny things, but if you're not careful, they land like punches to your confidence. The strange thing is, the real power isn't with the person who speaks. It's with you, who decides what it all means. So how do you start training that kind of freedom? One way is to ground your day with a personal phrase that reminds you who you are before the world tries to tell you. Not empty affirmations, but intentional reminders. For example, "Today I walk tall because I know my worth." Say it out loud with conviction, and you'll feel the difference. It's like putting on invisible armor each morning. Also, keep track of your small wins, not the big flashy stuff, the little things. You finished that report you kept putting off. You worked out when you didn't feel like it. You were kind when you were exhausted. Every night, write down 3 of those wins and say to yourself, "This counts too." Over time, your mind builds up an internal library of proof. So when a harsh comment comes your way, it won't land in an empty space. It'll hit a fortress full of evidence. Another tool? Build what I call unshakable beliefs. Short but powerful statements that define your worth from the inside, not based on anyone else. Things like, "I can adapt." "My dignity doesn't depend on applause." "I have the tools to get through this." Write them down and review them every week. Not to convince yourself of something fake, but to remember what you've already proven. If you stick with this, there will come a day when outside opinions sound like background noise. Not because you don't listen, but because you know how to filter. Some criticism will be useful, take it in and improve. But the kind that only aims to hurt or label you, that stays outside, because your worth is no longer up for auction. It's been decided by you. And that right there is real strength. Walking through life with calm and confidence, knowing that nothing outside of you can make you feel small unless you allow it. Just like Epictetus, who, even in chains, held onto his inner freedom, you can rise each day with the unshakable truth that your worth doesn't belong to anyone else. 17th lesson. Your scars don't define you. Have you ever seen a broken cup that someone chose not to throw away? In Japan, there's a technique called kintsugi. They take the broken pieces of a ceramic object, and they join them together with a resin mixed with gold powder. The result is something completely different. The cracks don't disappear. They're not hidden. They become the most beautiful part of the piece. Those golden lines across the surface tell a story. This broke, and it's still here, more valuable than before. Now think about yourself. About that time you spent weeks preparing for something important, and it went wrong. About that relationship you thought was solid and fell apart overnight. About that job you lost. About the opportunity that slipped through your fingers. About that moment when you looked in the mirror and thought, I can't take this anymore. All those cracks, all those fractures. Your mind probably sees them as flaws, as proof you're not enough, as reasons to hide and never try again. But what if you're seeing it all the wrong way? What if those cracks aren't your weakness, but the proof that you've really been alive? Because the one who never breaks is the one who never leaves their glass box, the one who never takes risks, who never tries anything that truly matters. Let me give you a concrete example. You've spent months preparing for an exam that could change your life. A civil service test, an important certification, something that opens doors. You study late into the night. You stop going out with friends. You turn down plans. You live with that constant pressure in your chest reminding you that you can't fail. The day arrives. You sit down in front of the test, and somewhere in the middle, you realize you don't know something crucial, something you studied, but it's gone from your mind. You finish the test with a knot in your stomach. Weeks go by. The results arrive. You didn't pass. That moment, the exact instant you see your name missing from the list, what does your mind do? Probably kicks off the same old show. I knew I wasn't going to make it. I wasted months of my life for nothing. Everyone's going to think I'm a failure. I never should have tried in the first place. And the worst, the most destructive thought of all, this just proves what I've always known, that I'm not good enough. Marcus Aurelius lost battles, lost territories, lost people he loved. He made decisions that went badly. And every night in his notebooks he'd write to remind himself of something essential. The obstacle to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. It wasn't cheap optimism. It was a completely different way of seeing the world. Every failure, every obstacle, every time something went wrong, it wasn't the end of the road. It was the road. It was how he learned, how he got stronger. And he wasn't alone in this. Epictetus, who lived in chains and suffered torture that left his body permanently marked, wrote something that should be burned into the mind of anyone who believes failure defines them. It's not circumstances that make or break you. It's your response to them. Because he knew he had two choices. Let the chains define him, or use them as fuel to become unbreakable. But here's the part no one tells you. Failure hurts, and it's okay that it hurts. You don't have to pretend you don't care. You don't have to wear a mask of strength and say everything's fine when inside you feel shattered. That's not Stoicism. That's denial. True Stoicism acknowledges the pain, looks it in the eye, and then decides what to do with it. So when you fail, and you will because we all do, the first thing you need to do is this. Separate the result from your identity. You are not the exam you didn't pass. You are not the relationship that ended. You are not the project that didn't work. That was something that happened, an event, a moment in time. It's not who you are. It's something that happened to you, not something that defines you. Imagine a friend comes to you and says they failed at something important. What would you say? Probably something like, "Hey, you gave it your best." That already means a lot. You'll do better next time. You wouldn't say, "You're a total failure." You should just give up, right? So why do you talk to yourself that way? Why do you allow yourself to be brutal when you'd never be that cruel to someone you love? Seneca had a nightly exercise. He'd review his day and ask, "Where did I fail today?" But not to punish himself, to learn, to identify exactly what went wrong and what he could improve. He didn't say, "I'm terrible." He asked, "What specific behavior can I change tomorrow?" And that difference changes everything. Because when you focus on behavior, you have control. But when you focus on identity, you just drown. Jordan Peterson talks a lot about this too. He says that when something goes wrong, people tend to collapse their entire identity around the failure. One bad test becomes, "I'm stupid." One failed project becomes, "I'm worthless." And once you do that, it paralyzes you. Because if you are a total failure, why even try? But if you simply failed at something specific, then there's hope. Then you can tweak. Then you can grow. So his advice is simple but powerful. Find the smallest part you can fix. Don't try to rebuild everything at once. Just find one crack, the tiniest one, and pour gold into it. Then another, and another. And little by little, without even realizing it, you become something stronger than you were before you broke. So from now on, let's do this. When you fail at something, and I mean when, not if, do this. Write down exactly what went wrong. Don't generalize. Don't say everything was a disaster. Be specific. I didn't study chapters 5 and 7 well enough. I got nervous and couldn't think clearly. I underestimated how much time I needed. That level of detail gives you power, because now you have something real to work with. Then ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Not in some empty motivational sense. Seriously. What new information do you have now that you didn't have before? Maybe you learned your study method doesn't work, that you need more practice under pressure, that you have to start earlier. Every failure is information. It's data. And data isn't good or bad. It just is. Now comes the most important part, my friend. Define one small adjustment. Don't say, next time I'll study 12 hours a day. That's not realistic and you know it. Say, I'll add 1 hour of review 3 times a week. Or, I'll do a practice test every Sunday. Something concrete, measurable, something you can do without breaking yourself in the process. Here's the mistake most people make. After failing, they double their demands on themselves. They punish themselves with impossible goals as if that would make up for the last failure. But all that does is guarantee they'll fail again, faster and harder. And every time they fail, they reinforce the story that they're not enough. It's the perfect vicious cycle. Because here's what no one tells you about resetting your life. It's not about wiping the slate clean and pretending nothing ever happened. It's about taking everything that broke, every crack, every scar, and deciding it won't destroy you, that it'll become your golden lines, the marks that prove you've been in the fight, that you've fallen and gotten back up. Marcus Aurelius knew this when he wrote through plagues and wars. Seneca knew this when he lost everything in exile. Epictetus knew this when he carried the marks of slavery on his body, and you know it too, even if you don't feel it right now, that every time you break and put yourself back together, you become more you, more real, more human, stronger in ways you never would have been if everything had gone perfectly from the start. So the next time you cross that finish line gasping for air, the next time you see a result you didn't want, the next time you feel that punch in the gut of failing again, remember this: you're not broken, you're becoming. And those cracks that feel so heavy right now, one day they'll be the most beautiful part of your story. The parts that shine with gold. The parts that say to the world, this fell apart and it's still here, stronger than before. Lesson number 18. Real strength is acting with integrity. There's a moment we've all experienced, that instant when you know exactly what you should do, but inside, there's a voice whispering, do what's easy, do what's quick, do what feels good. That temptation often shows up disguised as comfort, instant pleasure, or the chance to look good. But almost every time you give in, you end up paying the price. Your calm. Marcus Aurelius said it with a clarity that leaves no room for excuses. If it's not right, don't do it. If it's not true, don't say it. This wasn't some motivational poster quote. It was his daily compass, guiding him through an empire filled with betrayal and temptation. He could have used his power to take advantage, to get revenge, to let himself go. But he knew that if he wanted to trust himself, he had to stay true to what was right, even when it wasn't easy. Think of all the times you gave in to what your impulses wanted and regretted it right after. That argument where you threw out a hurtful comment just to win the moment. That urge to spend money you didn't have on something you didn't need. That late-night snack that gave you a second of pleasure and a day of regret. The pattern repeats. What feels like a quick win ends up becoming a quiet loss. Doing the right thing is like planting a tree. You don't see results at first. It feels like nothing's changing. But over time, that decision gives you shade, fruit, and deep roots that hold your life steady. On the other hand, following your cravings is like burning firewood for a flash of heat. It's gone in seconds, and you're left in the cold and dark. Let me tell you about Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor. He lost everything: his family, his home, his freedom, but he never lost his dignity in choosing what was right. He spoke about how even in the most horrific circumstances, some people kept their humanity, sharing a piece of bread, offering comforting words, refusing to steal from another prisoner. These acts didn't change the world around them, but they protected their inner freedom. Frankl said the last of all human freedoms is to choose your attitude in any given circumstance. That choice, even if no one sees it, is what keeps you whole. The same applies in your daily life. You don't have to be in a concentration camp to face these decisions. Sometimes all it takes is a meeting at work. Your boss asks a tough question, and you see a chance to shine by throwing someone else under the bus. The temptation is strong, but if you choose to stand for what you know is right, maybe you won't get the applause in the moment, but you'll gain something far more valuable: the peace of being able to look yourself in the mirror without flinching. That peace is the foundation of your confidence. Because how can you trust someone who betrays themselves at the first sign of pressure? This isn't about earning others' trust. It's about earning your own. Every time you follow through on what you know is right, you send yourself a powerful message: I can count on me. And that kind of inner certainty becomes a shield, one that stays steady even when the world shakes around you. So how do you stay strong when temptation hits hard? It's not about memorizing a list of strict rules. It's about preparing your mind. Start by identifying your non-negotiable values. Write them down, make them clear. If honesty, loyalty, or justice are your foundation, then when the moment of doubt comes, you won't have to guess. You'll already know the way. Another practice is training your internal brake. Before you act on an impulse, pause, breathe, then picture two scenes. How will you feel if you give in and betray your values? And how will you feel if you do what's right, even if it's hard? That comparison brings clarity. Temptation shouts in the present, but your calm lives in the future. And don't forget to celebrate your silent wins. Every time you choose what's right, even if no one claps for it, acknowledge it. It can be as simple as thinking, I did it. I stayed true. Those reminders slowly build a confidence so solid, it no longer depends on outside approval. Doing what's right won't always give you the fastest way out, but it will give you the deepest peace. And that peace, my friend, is the strongest shield you'll ever have. Because when you choose what you know is right, even in the face of your own impulses, you build a refuge inside you, one no storm can break through. Lesson 19. Choose your circle as if your mind depended on it. There's a saying, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Sounds nice on a motivational poster, but when you really think about it, it's brutal. Because it means that your view of the world, your thoughts, your energy, your ambition, even your happiness, aren't entirely your own. They're being shaped day after day by the voices around you. And if those voices are full of complaints, negativity, and mediocrity, guess how you're going to end up sounding? Think about the last time you spent time with someone who does nothing but complain. Someone for whom everything is a problem. The weather sucks, work is awful, people are unbearable, the country is falling apart. Nothing is right, nothing will ever get better. And at first, you try to lift their spirits, right? You look for the bright side, offer solutions. But after a while, you realize they don't want solutions. They want company in their misery. And if you're not careful, you end up there with them, complaining about things that didn't even bother you 5 minutes ago. Now multiply that by days, by weeks, by months. If that person is your partner, your best friend, your coworker, someone you spend hours with every day, what do you think happens to your mind? It starts to shift, slowly, without you even noticing. You begin to see the world through the same dull lens. You start to speak with that same tired tone. You start believing that things can't get better because no one around you believes they can. Marcus Aurelius, who spent his days surrounded by corrupt politicians, ambitious generals, and advisors only looking out for themselves, wrote something in his journal that almost sounds like a cry for help. When you wake up in the morning, think what a privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. And then he added, because most of the people you'll meet today don't think this way. And he was right. He was surrounded by people stuck in complaint, betrayal, and mediocrity. And he knew that if he didn't protect his mind, he'd become just like them. But he didn't isolate himself. He didn't lock himself away in a tower. He simply chose carefully who he gave access to his mind, who he listened to, who he spent his free time with, who he talked to about important things, because he understood something essential. You can't always control who's in your life, family, work, circumstances, but you can control how much weight you give to each voice. Epictetus put it more bluntly, if you want to improve, surround yourself with people who make you better. If you're surrounded by mediocrity, you'll become mediocre. If you're surrounded by excellence, you'll be forced to raise your game. That's not cruelty, it's not elitism, it's mental survival. Because your mind absorbs everything around it, and if you feed it garbage, it's going to produce garbage. Now think about your WhatsApp group, the one everyone's on all day. What do they talk about? What do they share? Are they memes that make you laugh and think? Or complaints disguised as jokes? Do they share ideas, projects, things they're learning? Or is it just rants about traffic, the government, Mondays, and how tired they always are? Watch the general tone, because that tone will rub off on you, whether you like it or not. And it's not just groups. Think about individuals. That friend who drains you every time you see them because all they talk about is their problems, but they never do anything to change them. That buddy who always has an excuse not to try something new and mocks anyone who does try. That coworker who turns every project into an apocalyptic drama before it even starts. They're not bad people. They don't mean harm, but they're toxic for your mind. They're like smoke in a closed room. At first, it's fine, but if you stay there breathing long enough, you start to suffocate. Seneca had a strict rule for this. He reviewed his friendships the same way he reviewed his diet. He'd ask, does this person make me better or worse? Do I leave our conversations with more energy or less? Do they inspire me to grow or drag me down to their level? And if the answer was negative, he'd take distance. No drama, no fights. He'd just let the relationship cool off naturally, because he valued his mental peace too much to sacrifice it for blind loyalty. And here comes the uncomfortable truth no one wants to hear. Sometimes those people are your family, or your lifelong friends, people you truly care about. And yes, it hurts. It hurts to realize that someone you love is doing damage just by the way they see the world. But you have to choose. Will you protect their feelings or your mind? Because you can't always do both. I'm not saying abandon them. I'm saying adjust the dose, set boundaries. Don't give them unlimited access to your head. When the negativity starts, change the subject or step away politely. Don't sit there for 2 hours absorbing their emotional garbage like it's your duty. Now, the other side of this. Seek out people who elevate you, people who make you think, who challenge you, who inspire you, who are doing things, not just talking about doing them, who, when they fail, get back up instead of whining, who see opportunity where others only see obstacles. And if you don't have people like that around you, go find them. Go where those people hang out. Conferences, workshops, gyms, book clubs, online communities, anywhere. Because those people exist. They're just often not in your comfort zone. They're outside, doing things, while you're still in the same bar with the same people, having the same depressing conversations. You know Kobe Bryant, right? Of course. He had a legendary mindset. He used to say that when he was young, he always tried to train with the toughest guys in the gym, the ones who arrived first, the ones who left last, the ones who didn't make excuses, because he knew that if he surrounded himself with people who settled for less, he'd settle too. But if he surrounded himself with people obsessed with excellence, he'd have no choice but to rise to the level, or get left behind. And it worked. Not because those people pushed him directly, but because their presence, their work ethic, their mindset was contagious. The same way negativity is contagious, so is excellence. If you're surrounded by people who read, you read more. If you're surrounded by people who train, you train more. If you're surrounded by people who build, you build more. It's automatic. But it also works in reverse. If you're surrounded by people who do nothing, who complain all day, who live off excuses, you become that too, without even noticing, because the human mind is wired to adapt to the group, to fit in. And if the group has low standards, you'll lower yours just to belong. So, my friend, here's a direct question. Who are the 5 people you spend the most time with? Think of their names. Now ask yourself with brutal honesty, do they make me better? Do they inspire me? Do they challenge me? Or do they just keep me comfortably stuck in my own mediocrity? If the answer makes you uncomfortable, good. That means you're being honest. And now you have a choice to make. You can keep doing what you've always done, surrounded by the same people, having the same conversations, living the same life. Or you can start making changes. Small at first. Step back from the people who drain you. Move closer to those who energize you. Actively seek out people who are living the way you want to live. Because resetting your life isn't just about changing your habits or your thoughts. It's about changing your environment. It's about understanding that you're not an island. Your mind is constantly being shaped by the voices around it. And if those voices are rotten, your mind will rot too. It doesn't matter how hard you try to think positive if you spend 8 hours a day with people who see everything in black. Marcus Aurelius summed it up in a sentence you should tattoo somewhere. The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts, but it also becomes dyed with the color of the people around it. So choose wisely, because your mind, your energy, your future depend on it. And now I want to ask you something most people avoid. Who is that one person who quietly drains your mind every time you're around them? We all have someone like that. Someone we care about but who wears us down without meaning to. If you feel like sharing, no names, no details, tell me in the comments how being around that person makes you feel. Sometimes putting it into words is the first step toward taking your power back. And if you'd rather not explain, just leave the phrase, "Today I choose who I let into my mind." That way I'll know you're still here, growing with us, and protecting your peace the way it deserves. Lesson 20. Calm, the superpower almost no one trains. Let me ask you something directly. How many times have you lost your calm over something silly? Someone cuts in line at the supermarket, a message arrives without an emoji and you immediately assume there's bad intent. A comment at home about some tiny detail, and you act like you've just been disrespected. You know it, because we've all done it. And right after you explode, reality hits you. Did I really get that worked up over this? That bitter realization that it wasn't the world dragging you down. It was you who didn't know how to hold your ground. The Stoics knew that calm was the true measure of strength. Marcus Aurelius, surrounded by war and betrayal, wrote, "A man's true power is keeping his serenity in the heart of the storm." He wasn't writing from a quiet office. He was in military camps, where any day could be his last. And still, he found that refuge within himself. A space no army, no illness could ever touch. That same calm he practiced is the one almost no one trains today. My friend, picture your mind as a walled city. If the gates are wide open, any noise, any provocation, any comment can come in and wreck everything. But if you have guards at the door, if you learn to choose what you let in and what you don't, then your inner world stays in order, even if there's shouting and chaos outside. That invisible wall, that's calm. Think about your day-to-day. You're in the car, someone cuts you off, and in seconds your heart's pounding like you're under mortal threat. Or someone sends you a short message, no thank you, no emoji, and your mind fills in the tone, the face, the entire story. At home, someone leaves the towel in the wrong place and you react like it's a personal offense. The strange part is, you realize it after you've already snapped. And then comes the question, why did I lose my calm over something so small? The answer's uncomfortable, because you haven't learned to treat your calm like your most valuable treasure. We all talk about taking care of the body, making money, protecting our health, but hardly anyone talks about protecting their calm, when in reality, it's the foundation of everything else. Epictetus used to say that no one can hurt you without your permission, and he was right. What really wounds us isn't the other person's gesture, it's the door we open when we let their poison in. Calm is the key that decides what comes in and what stays out. So how do you train this superpower? Start with the everyday stuff. The next time you feel anger rising, don't act right away. Take a short pause, even just a few seconds, and ask yourself, what do I gain by reacting now? That one question breaks the impulse chain. Another helpful practice is to use your breath as an ally. 3 deep breaths before responding are often enough to bring your mind back to clarity. You can also prepare your ground before the storm hits. Many Stoics practice negative visualization, imagining that something might go wrong so they wouldn't be caught off guard when it did. You can apply this in small ways. Got an important meeting? Think, someone might interrupt me, someone might disagree, and when it happens, instead of getting flustered, you'll recognize it. I expected this. I'm ready. There's another way to train your calm during peaceful times. Set aside a few minutes a day for slow activities. Walk without rushing. Drink a coffee without your phone. Listen to soft music without doing anything else. That's not wasted time. It's strengthening the invisible muscle that will later hold your mind steady when chaos shows up. Calm isn't coldness or indifference. It's choosing the place you want to act from. When you manage to keep it, you don't just trust yourself more, you also inspire others. You become that person who, even when everything is falling apart, still radiates stability. So remember, reacting fast is easy. Anyone can do it. But responding calmly when the world is pushing you to lose it, that's what makes you truly strong. Now I want to hear from you. What everyday situation tests your calm the most? Share it in the comments. Your story might just help someone else see themselves more clearly too. And if you don't know what to write, leave this as your personal declaration. My calm is my true strength. Lesson 21. Don't let one emotion ruin your life. The Stoics were crystal clear about this. Intense emotions, if you don't master them, can become your worst enemy. Seneca repeated it in On Anger. Nothing destroys faster than rage when it takes control. And he was right. Anger hides behind justice, behind wounded pride. But once you let it in, it wrecks everything in its path. Relationships, opportunities, even your health. Think about this. It's late at night. You're in front of your laptop, tired, in a terrible mood. From the hallway, your partner asks you to shut it down already, but you feel like you can't stop. The computer is lagging, apps are crashing, and the clock is racing faster than it should. Then suddenly, without even realizing it, you're yelling, clenching your jaw, acting like your whole life depends on this one moment. And the hardest part isn't the mistake you made. It's the emotional hangover that comes after. That emptiness, the anger at yourself, the thought, how did I lose it like that? The strange thing is, it wasn't the problem that defeated you. It was your reaction to the problem. Epictetus would have summed it up with his most famous line, "It's not things that disturb us, but our judgments about them." That sudden surge of emotion, that fire that rises in seconds, is just a spark. What turns it into a wildfire is letting it grow without control. Let me give you another scene. You're playing a football match with friends. The ref calls a foul that wasn't. One of your teammates loses it, starts yelling, and storms off the field in outrage. Minutes later, the game goes on, but he's no longer part of it. Not mentally, not emotionally. What happened? A fleeting emotion took over his entire life for hours, and worst of all, he lost what actually mattered: the joy of playing. Seneca wrote something worth carving in stone: "There is no more reliable proof of greatness than to remain in a state where nothing can disturb you." And he didn't mean turning into a cold, emotionless rock. The Stoics felt fear, sadness, joy, and anger, just like us. What they taught was not to hand over the steering wheel. Emotions can ride in the car, but they shouldn't touch the wheel. Today, science backs this up. Neuroscience studies show that naming an emotion reduces its intensity. So the next time you feel that wave rising in your chest, don't ignore it. Say it softly to yourself. This is anger. This is frustration. This is fear. By naming it, you turn it into something defined, not a shapeless monster running your life. And this is where small practices come in. You don't need a complex ritual. What you need is a crack in the emotional wall before it locks you in. You can stand up, open a window, let the cold air touch your face. Run your hands under water and feel the temperature. Walk for 5 minutes looking at the sky, and you'll notice how slowly your mind starts to settle. Simple gestures, but they break the loop. Another Stoic tool is conscious delay. When you want to fire off a message that burns, wait a few minutes. Write it, but don't send it yet. That gap between impulse and action is what the wise called self-mastery. It's not about repression. It's about giving yourself enough space to choose your best response. And think about your daily habits. If you never train your calm in times of peace, don't expect to have it in times of war. Spend a few minutes each day just watching your breath, journaling your thoughts, reminding yourself that what you're feeling is temporary. Just like an athlete doesn't compete without training, you won't be able to control your anger if you've never practiced self-control before. Remember this: feeling emotions is not the problem. What's dangerous is letting them decide for you. Anger can ruin a career in seconds. Fear can stop a life-changing opportunity forever. Sadness can close doors that never open again. But when you manage to pause for just a moment, breathe, and return to your center, that's when you realize the emotion is not your enemy. It's just a signal, and you decide what to do with it. So, my friend, don't let a fleeting emotion destroy what you've built with so much effort. Mastering yourself is the greatest act of power there is. And as Seneca said, conquering your emotions is conquering life. Staying calm and confident in yourself. That's what truly allows you to move forward without letting anything or anyone shake your mind. Every day brings new tests, delays, criticism, loss, unexpected surprises. But every day is also a chance to prove to yourself that you're stronger than you think. The Stoics understood this well. It's not about waiting for a world without storms. It's about becoming someone who can walk through them with serenity. Because real strength isn't about dodging the hits. It's about still standing after you've taken them. It's not about complaining over what's beyond your control. It's about training your mind so nothing can steal your clarity. And that training, my friend, starts now, with every decision you make, with every reaction you choose. If you've made it this far, I want you to declare it boldly in the comments. Still standing, even when everything shakes. Reaching the end of this video is no accident. It means something in you wants to grow, and that already sets you apart from most. Subscribe and share this video with someone who needs it. That simple gesture helps us keep spreading this message of growth. On screen, you'll find a playlist to go even deeper. Click and let's keep learning together.